Okay, so welcome back. At this point, you should be all set up. Got your paintbrush, got your water, got your palette. It's set up like this. Paper towels, I'm using these, but using like more absorbent ones would be much better. So to start, I'm gonna paint my primary colors. So that's blue, red, yellow. So I dip my brush in a little bit of the water, just enough to wet the bristles. I wipe off the excess water and I'm gonna start with blue. So if you're looking, I just go like this to pick up some pigment in my brush. You don't want too much pigment in your brush. It makes painting really goopy. And I'm gonna try to stay in the lines as best I can. The idea is that you're going for a nice, solid color. So as you can see, it doesn't go on flat like it would with paper, which is fine because it's not paper, it's canvas. So again, dip in a little bit of water, picking up more pigment. The only thing I'm super concerned with at this moment is getting that nice clean edge. So I'm using a nice flat brush to do that. I want that clean edge as best as I can. Dipping it in water makes it a lot smoother. It thins it out just enough for me to get a better handling on it. Okay. Okay, so obviously this is going to be a time-consuming thing. So once I've done one, I'm gonna just show you how to mix color. And once we've done that mixing color thing, then I'm gonna let you do the rest yourself. So obviously you don't need to watch me paint in solid colors of red and yellow. So again, I'm just gonna do this, mix it up a little bit for you, and then we're gonna go to the next one. So if you look, I'm trying to smooth this out a little bit. Once the acrylic dries, you can't really work with it. You can layer it, so you can put another layer on top. It just makes it it's very plasticky when it's down. So you wanna make sure you do your job as best you can to start out with. Smoothing it out. It's much easier to work on this. I was painting on an already used painting, so a primed canvas, and it made it much, much harder. So okay, I've got my layer of blue. Now I'm gonna clean up my brush because it's gonna turn it blue, obviously. You're gonna have to change your water a few times, but I wanna clean out my brush. I'm gonna wipe it clean, and I think I'm gonna go in the direction of green. So what I wanna do now is I'm gonna take my palette. Let me move this out of the way. It's kind of hard working in such a confined space. So to make green, of course, you mix your colors. So I'm gonna take a bit of blue here. You wanna mix a good amount because we're gonna use it for the other colors as well. So I've got my blue, I'm gonna grab some yellow. If you forget which colors to mix, your color wheel will tell you. So I'm gonna mix these together. So I've created this color I find isn't really green, it's very blue-green. So I want to add more yellow to it to lighten it up. Okay, you do have green in your paint tray, or you should at least. I don't want you to use those ones right yet for two reasons. First of all, you're probably going to use it when you're doing your big painting, and I don't want you to waste your colors. Second of all, mixing paints is actually a pretty important skill for you to learn. It's a much better idea for you to actually have that skill than for you to just rely on pre-mixed paints. You have to be able to match your colors, and your big project with this will be based on that. So this is the color green I'm going to use. It is still a little aqua-y, but I think we can live with this. So we're going to go over here. I'm going to take the spot where it says green, and I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, my paintbrush right now is loaded with pigment because of the mixing. It gets in the bristles. So you want to be very careful with doing this because it's easy to go over the lines and it's harder to actually control like the specific smaller areas that I want to use. So this is just me filling in. Remember, green is a secondary color, meaning you mix two primaries to get green. Those two primaries, of course, are blue and yellow. If you're ever curious, see blue, yellow. Obviously, everything in there is going to be a mix of those two colors because you need them to come across the color wheel to each other. A color wheel, like I showed you the exemplar, should look like the colors are mixing and turning into each other. If there's a color that doesn't look like that at all, then you probably have done it wrong. So just be aware of that. It should look like the colors are moving towards each other in a natural progression. So almost done that little area. Okay, so I've got that one done. What I'm gonna do now is I have this color that I've used, right? So I have the yellow, and I also need a blue-green, so a color in between these two. It's very easy to get. What I do essentially is I take this area that I didn't mix and just use that. It's gonna be more bluey. Pull it all together. It's gonna move towards the blue. And then I just want to make sure that it is different enough from that color that it's distinctive. So it shouldn't be blue or green, it should be its own color. So if I look now, I've got a pretty much darker color. You can see it's different from those two. I fill in the gap. And this is called a tertiary color. So it's called that because I mixed essentially a secondary, which is 2, and a primary, which is 1, to get this color. So 2 plus 1 is 3, tertiary, 3 colors. And if you look, I think that works out pretty well. It's kind of an aqua. It's not quite blue, it's not quite green, it's somewhere perfectly in between. So the one thing you will notice, I hope you find it anyway, is this is kind of a little bit zen as you're going along. You shouldn't be stressing out as you're doing this. It's much better to just sit and relax and concentrate. If you're doing it at home, so make sure that you're in a quiet spot, away from siblings or parents or the happenings of your day-to-day life. If you're at the school, throw on your headphones or watch whatever I've thrown up on the smartboard, and you just kind of zone out while you're doing this. It's a lot easier to do when you're not stressed out. And you shouldn't really be stressed out when you're painting anyway. A lot of painting is about just chilling out, taking some time and relaxing. Okay, so one thing you might notice as my other colors, like for example, that's dry at this point. That's how fast acrylic dries, by the way. Pretty much as soon as you're done, it's already on its way to drying. You might notice that that blue area that I've got, it looks cloudy and kind of choppy. So what's going to happen is once we're done, and this area does too, it looks a little cloudy. It's because you're not going to get like a completely opaque, meaning like flat surface color yet. Paint doesn't usually work that way. You paint in layers. So what I'm doing is I'm just trying to smooth it out as much as possible. There you go. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to do secondary layers. So once that's done, I'll do another layer and another layer until it looks pretty flat. So that's going to be it for this video. Please finish the rest of this. So this one is going to be purple. Obviously this is blue, so this will be blue mixed with purple. This one's red, so this is purple mixed with red. Obviously red and blue together make purple. So that's pretty much how we're going to do this. Once you're done that, please go on to the next video and we will look about how to do the color spectrum. So if you want an example, Here's the color spectrum. Woo! This one's super messy, I'm sorry. But I will post the finished color wheel on the LMS so that you can see what it's supposed to look like.